All right, so today we're going to dive into the world of naval architecture.
Okay.
I have a feeling our listeners are really going to be into this one.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't love, like, thinking about the people who actually create the ships and boats that we see, out on the water?
Right.
Everything from, like, those massive cargo ships to, like, the sleek racing yachts. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And lucky for us, we've got some really cool info from RoleCatcher.com. They've got this whole career guide dedicated to, being a naval architect.
Uh-huh.
And even some AI tools to help you actually get the job, which we'll get into.
Right.
But before we go too far, I kind of want to break down what a naval architect actually does.
Okay.
Because it's got to be more than just drawing boats, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's way more multifaceted than I think people realize.
Yeah.
You're basically creating this whole self-contained ecosystem, right?
Okay.
That has to survive, like, the absolute worst that Mother Nature can throw at it.
Yeah.
Saltwater, storms, you name it.
Right, right.
So it's a wild blend of engineering, physics, design. There's even some artistry that goes into it.
It's like designing a floating city almost,
Exactly.
with all the complexities and everything that go along with that.
100%.
So it's not just about the design then, it's the whole life of the vessel, right?
Yeah.
From, like you said, conception to creation to actually putting it in the water and maintaining it.
Exactly. A naval architect is involved in every stage.
Wow.
From the initial design through construction, ongoing maintenance, and even eventually decommissioning the ship.
Huh.
And within all that, there's tons of specializations.
Really?
You could be working on a luxury yacht one day
Okay.
and then be designing like a fleet of self-driving cargo ships the next.
Wow. So there's a huge range of stuff you could be doing.
Huge range, yeah.
So, I mean, what are some of the, like, must-have skills for someone to succeed in this kind of field?
Sure.
I mean, I'm assuming you got to have that, like, solid math and physics background. Yeah.
You're on the right track, definitely. Can't get away from math and engineering in this job.
Right.
But it might surprise you. RoleCatcher actually says that reading comprehension, critical thinking, and judgment are super important in this line of work, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Reading comprehension.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought that was, like, top of the list for someone who designs submarines, for instance.
It's funny you should say that.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're constantly dealing with technical documents,
Right.
research papers,
Yeah.
client briefs, all that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Being able to process all that information really quickly, analyze data, and then make solid judgments based on what you've learned is critical.
So it's not just crunching numbers.
Well,
You've got to actually understand what they mean
exactly.
and make decisions from that.
It's like being a detective almost.
Oh, okay.
You're piecing together these clues from all these technical documents.
That's a good point.
And then, of course, there's the whole collaborative aspect of it.
Right.
You're not working in a vacuum.
You're working with engineers, builders, and, of course, the clients
Right.
to make these projects a reality.
So the people skills are important to that.
Absolutely vital. Strong communication is key.
Okay.
And the ability to manage expectations,
Mm.
especially when you're dealing with complex technical stuff.
Right.
Imagine you're looking at a client's brief for a luxury yacht.
Okay, yeah.
You need to figure out what their vision is, understand the technical limitations,
Right.
and then somehow translate all that into a design that not only meets, but hopefully exceeds what they're hoping for,
Oh, wow.
all while making sure it's safe and follows all the regulations.
So you're not just an engineer. You're like part psychologist, part artist,
Right.
a diplomat.
It's a lot.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So let's talk about actually breaking into this field.
Okay. Yeah.
RoleCatcher mentioned portfolios being a big deal, right?
Yeah, they are. It's kind of like, when an architect makes those little scale models or an artist has their portfolio. It's like that.
Right.
It lets aspiring naval architects show off what they can do.
I see. So it's not just about, like, having the degree. It's proving you can actually use it.
Exactly, especially when you're just starting out.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what sort of things go into a portfolio like that?
Well, it depends on what you're into, right?
Right.
But generally, you'd want to show off how you think about design, how you solve problems, the technical stuff. So projects from school, 3D models you've built, even technical drawings or reports, things that show you get the principles.
So it's like building a little mini museum of your work almost.
Yeah, kind of.
That's cool. And speaking of getting your foot in the door,
Yeah,
this whole AI thing that RoleCatcher keeps mentioning is really interesting.
right.
They've got these tools, right, that'll like analyze your resume
Yeah, they do.
and even do mock interviews with you. It's like having a digital career coach in your pocket. Have you played around with those at all?
It's wild how much tech is changing how we find jobs, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I have actually checked out some of RoleCatcher's AI stuff.
Oh, cool.
Like their resume analysis is pretty something.
Really?
You upload your resume and it compares it to the jobs you want.
Oh, wow.
And it tells you where you can improve or highlight the skills employers are after.
So it's like having another set of eyes on it,
Exactly.
or I guess algorithms in this case.
Right, but it helps you put your best foot forward.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah.
And what about the what were they called? The mock interviews.
Oh, yeah.
What's that like? Is it scary getting grilled by a bot?
It's not really about being grilled, actually.
Oh.
It's more like a structured way to practice how you answer.
Okay.
The AI looks at things like, are you clear?
Right.
Are you rambling?
How do that?
Even your tone of voice, it analyzes that and then gives you tips.
So it can tell if you're like saying too much.
Exactly.
That's wild. I could see that being super helpful,
It is.
especially for anyone who gets like nervous in interviews and stuff.
Totally. And that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
These tools are about giving people confidence, to show off what they bring to the table.
It's a tough world out there.
Oh, tell me about it. Especially in a field like naval architecture, it's super competitive.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about what these folks do, the skills they need, even how to get started. But let's zoom out for a sec.
Okay.
Where does this whole career fit into the bigger picture?
That's a great question.
Yeah,
At its heart, it's about solving these huge engineering puzzles.
right.
But with the ocean's rules, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's about finding that sweet spot between how it looks and what it does.
right.
Making it beautiful but practical, safe but still pushing the boundary.
And it's got to be a field that just keeps changing, right?
All the time.
I mean, we've got the push for greener shipping now.
Yep.
Self-driving ships,
Uh-huh.
AI designing and optimizing everything.
It's a lot.
There's so much going on in that
It's
world.
true. And naval architects are right there on the cutting edge.
Yeah.
They're literally shaping the future of how we use the water.
It's like they're not just designing ships, they're designing the solutions for like the future of transportation.
100%.
Speaking of which, one thing RoleCatcher talked about that really stuck with me was this idea of AI,
Yeah.
but not just for finding a job in naval architecture,
Right.
but like actually doing the job.
Right. Interesting. No.
So we're talking like AI crunching those crazy calculations,
Exactly.
optimizing the whole design,
Yep.
even suggesting like wild new structures we haven't even thought of.
It's amazing.
Kind of makes you wonder, where do people even fit in anymore?
Right. It's a question everyone's asking, not just shipbuilders.
True, true.
But we have to remember, even the smartest AI, it's still a tool. Like, it can handle tons of data, do things crazy fast,
Right.
but it can't replace, good old-fashioned human ingenuity.
You're saying it's missing that spark,
Yeah, that spark.
that ability to look at a problem sideways, come up with something totally new.
And let's not forget intuition, that gut feeling you get from years of experience.
Oh, yeah?
AI can help us along, but it can't replicate that deep understanding.
So it's not man versus machine. It's more like,
It's a partnership.
right, we each bring our strengths to the table.
Exactly, and that's exciting.
Way more optimistic than the robots taking over.
Right.
So imagine it, naval architects working with AI
I love it.
to make even better ships, greener ships,
It's more efficient.
maybe even stuff we can't even dream up yet.
The possibilities are huge.
Now, that's a future I can get behind. But
Yeah.
before we go full sci-fi on this,
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier those naval architect skills. They're useful in other fields too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it.
Okay.
A ship, it's like a little city, right?
Kind of, yeah.
It's got its own power, waste disposal, plumbing, places for people to live.
Right. It's all self-contained.
Exactly. And designing that takes such specific skills.
Makes sense.
And those skills, they're needed everywhere.
So you're saying it's not just about like making the ship float, it's making it efficient,
Yes.
eco-friendly.
Yep.
Even making sure the people on board have a decent place to be.
All of that.
Yeah.
And those same ideas, you can use them in offshore energy, coastal engineering,
Okay.
underwater exploration, even building sustainable cities on land.
Wow. I'm seeing the connections now.
It's about that big picture thinking.
Right. Solving tough problems with limited resources.
Balancing what everyone needs, super valuable no matter what you're doing.
It's like they're not just building ships, they're building a better future. Kinda.
Exactly.
And on that note, folks, we're going to have to leave you to ponder that.
Lots to think about.
If these naval architects are tackling such huge issues, How do we, as a society, encourage them, support them?
Good question.
Make sure they've got what they need to develop these super valuable skills. It's something to chew on, maybe even take action on. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll catch you in the next deep dive.